So I've been holding off doing this, but I keep seeing it pop up in the comments. Let's do a pantry tour. Now, I want to start by saying that this is not necessary, the amount of stuff that I carry in my pantry for the average home cook. We will do at the end of each kind of section, we're going to run through what I think the average home cook needs at home. But let's get stuck into what I've got first. So first things first, make sure you're organized. It's a key thing where any dry store, we call this in the kitchen world. Make sure stuff's labeled, it's all laid out in proper sections, and all your backup for the containers that you've got is kept off to one side. And that way you can top up your containers, and then once they're empty, you can put that back on your shopping list when the stuff's run out at the back here. I break it down pretty simply. We've got kind of rices, grains, chilies, and then other dry stuff like panko, tempura mix, tapioca flour. And then here's kind of more of a baking section for me. So all my flours, coconut, different types of chocolate. So then we move up to here, and this is the stuff that I don't use quite so much. So stuff like xanthan gum, agar, which is used in baking a lot, seeds, nuts. Some more of the Asian style ingredients, a dashi powder, nori seasoning, glutinous rice flour, and then we'll get into the spices drawer in a minute. Obviously I use a lot of rice, so I've always got a good supply of jasmine rice, sushi rice, and basmati, and I use sushi rice for more than just sushi. We use it for short grain rice for like rice bowls and stuff like that as well. Pasta I don't keep a whole lot of. If it's just me and Caitlin, a whole packet's usually a bit much, so I end up with a little bit, which I'll keep, and then if I'm home alone, I'll kind of use that just to feed myself. But I tend to not break down pasta, and I kind of buy the 500 gram bags. This one's an interesting one, pie weights. So I've got a whole bunch of dried chickpeas that I use for when I'm making pastries and lining pie tins. They're not for eating, they're just for cooking pastry in the oven. And then a bunch of other legumes, a few different types of lentils, and then dried chilies, ancho chilies. So some of the more interesting chilies, especially from Mexico, the dried chilies, it's not super easy to get in Australia. You can get them, but you've got to order them online. So I kind of keep a fair supply of them here. So on the pastry shelf, we've got all our different sugars, from palm sugar, rock sugar, caster sugar, brown sugar, the almighty corn flour. Still haven't figured out how to get the backwards R on the corn flour with my label gun, but I'm sure we'll figure that out one day. And then, like I said before, all this is just backup of all the stuff here. All right, so now we're going to the spice drawer, and we'll run you through that. Then we'll pull out what I think you need to start a pantry at home, because this is kind of extreme. All right, the spice drawer. So first up, we'll go through some honorable mentions, stuff that I can't live without, and then we'll get into a list of things that I think every kitchen needs. First, for me, the trio, the holy trinity: ground cumin, ground coriander, and smoked paprika. I think this is a really great combination to add to any kind of one pot dish especially. I think the smokiness together with the earthiness of the two spices work really well together. They're really common in a lot of cuisines, especially through India and Pakistan and Middle East, through a lot of that part of the world. And I think for me, these three should be in every single pantry. So the number one essential is salt. Now, you don't need all four of these, but I do carry 4 salts. We have the normal, what we call table salt here in Australia. I think in the States you call it kosher salt. Flaky sea salt, so this is like molten sea salt, high quality, uses a finishing salt. There's a really great video by Alex on YouTube about molten sea salt. It's definitely worth a watch. This is a smoked salt. This is super bougie. You definitely don't need this in your pantry, but it's a nice to have. And another sea salt. This is kind of a lower quality to the molten sea salt, but it's an actual sea salt, really natural, good for seasoning like pasta waters and stuff like that. So pepper, black pepper, white pepper, and pink pepper. You definitely don't really need pink pepper, but these two you definitely need, and you need a good pepper grinder. Fresh ground pepper is the way to go. Don't buy the pre-ground stuff, and get a good one. These things are expensive, I won't lie, but they make your life a lot easier. This one's called the Pepper Cannon, I think. Not sponsored, but they did send it to me, but it's really good. And I'm only saying that because it's true. It grinds pepper faster than any other pepper grinder I've ever had. White pepper, used a lot more in Asian cooking, especially in Chinese cooking, and you can get away with just buying ground white pepper if you're going to use it for that, not having your own pepper grinder just for that. And pink peppercorns, they're a bit more luxury, a bit more kind of bougie, I guess. I really like using these when I'm pickling stuff. They have a more fruity flavor, but they also kind of make the pickling jars look pretty. You know, like having something pink in there rather than just your average peppercorn. And then there's a whole bunch more peppers you can get into. There's, you know, the green peppercorns you can have. There's tons of it, but I think these two are the only two that you really need to worry about. So just quickly on oils, vinegars, and basic sauces, you could do an hour-long episode on this, no problem. But we'll start with oils. You'll probably notice that I always keep oils like this next to me. They kind of live behind my coffee machine back there, out of the way. And that's just because I use this stuff all the time. So I have it in squeezy bottles. This is what everyone uses in restaurants. And then it's easy to use. You're not opening bottles, you're not opening containers. So I always have olive oil, good quality olive oil in one, and grapeseed oil in the other. Another kind of vital oil to have is a sesame oil. Again, this is a finishing oil, also expensive, but you don't need much of it. Really popular in, you know, Japanese, Korean, Chinese cuisine. Balsamic vinegar, I actually don't have any at the moment. It's on my shopping list, I'll get some, but I do also have balsamic glaze in my pantry most of the time. This is great if you're just putting together a little caprese salad, or, you know, like a simple salad like that, a bit of this over the top. Really great sweetness and sharpness. Red wine vinegar, really good for salad dressings. Plain distilled white vinegar, great for pickling stuff, also great for cleaning. Dirt cheap and should be in everyone's pantry. Fish sauce, I love fish sauce. I love good quality fish sauce. And once you start eating good quality fish sauce, you never go back to the other brands. So this is a reasonable fish sauce. It's not the best, but it's certainly not the worst. But you can't get it at the supermarkets in Australia anyway. You have to go to the specialty Asian grocers. Soya sauce, the standard, curcumin. You can't go wrong with it. You can definitely kind of, you know, open your world up to a bunch of really, really expensive soya sauces, but this is a pretty good one and available, I think, pretty much around the world. Maggi seasoning. I think this is actually a Dutch invention. I could be wrong, don't fact check me on that. But this is basically, I refer to this as liquid MSG. Has a very kind of umami flavor, delicious just to finish stir fries and stuff like that. It's like flavor in a bottle. Actually, we just had a fact check. It is Swiss, not Dutch, but there you go, it's from Europe. All right, now as you can tell, I could probably carry on all day about ingredients. I get really excited about the stuff, but I wanted to pull together what I would buy as pantry staples if I was moving into a brand new apartment and had absolutely nothing. Starting with the flours. Corn flour, bread flour, cake flour. Those are the three flours that you need to start with. Baking powder and bicarb soda. They're different things and they're used in a lot of things, so get them both. Sugars, brown sugar and caster sugar. You can pretty much get away with those two sugars for 99% of things. Pastas and rices. There's always pasta in my pantry, apart from right now, but I usually have a packet of pasta, usually penne, something simple like that. Really good if you want to throw something together quickly. Couscous, because this is super quick to pull together and great for salads. And then rices. I think you just need to start with basmati and jasmine. So basmati if you're cooking kind of more Indian or Middle Eastern food, jasmine if you're cooking Asian food. All right, oils and basic sauces. High temp oil like grapeseed, peanut or canola, a good quality olive oil for finishing. Always have a box of stock in the pantry. Soy sauce, fish sauce, distilled white vinegar as a minimum. Apple cider vinegar is the next best option. And then you can go as crazy as you want with vinegars. Tin tomatoes. I've always got a couple of cans of tin tomatoes in my pantry, and it's one of those things that it's worth spending a bit of money on. It's not expensive stuff, but the higher quality tomatoes are much better in tomato sauces and pasta sauces than the cheaper stuff. They're just not quite as sharp, better quality tomatoes. Now spices. Ground cumin, chili flakes, smoked paprika, garam masala, and ground coriander. With these 5 spices, you can make a plethora of different dishes. And that just leaves us with arguably the 2 most important, salt and pepper. So you're gonna need 2 salts, a finishing sea salt, and a table salt or a kosher salt for cooking. And then ground black pepper. And that's it. That's all I think you need to start your pantry and your home cooking experience. I hope you took something from this video. Chuck it a like if you did, subscribe if you're not, and we'll see you next week for another recipe. Peace.